Universities and Colleges Committee, I'd like to go, I don't know what the item number is on the agenda, but House Bill 1030, House Bill 1030 is going to be the first bill that we're looking at today. And I have a proposed committee sub on this that you should have received, and that's the bill that we'll be working off of. So I'm going to call that up, and we'll be working off the proposed committee sub on House Bill 1030. So House Bill 1030, some of y'all may have heard about this bill. It's the NIL bill, or the Name, Image, and Likeness bill. Let me tell you what has brought this bill about. Different states are looking at, and some have adopted statutes or policies that would allow a student athlete to be compensated for his name, image, or likeness while he is enrolled as a student athlete at a respective university. Now, you're asking, why is this bill before us at this time? It's Congress really needs to take this and run with it and adopt something on a national standard, but it doesn't appear that there is any will or any urgency to do that in Congress, so states are doing it on their own. And what it does basically, just I'm not going to go through every part of the bill. I will say that in the Southeastern Conference, Florida, the state of Florida has already adopted this bill. Okay. And let me say this too on the front end, that our IHL board is in support of this. All 8 of our public universities are in support of this. Okay. Now, what it will do, it will allow a student athlete more or less to be compensated for his name, image, or likeness, and to be able to sign with an agent or an attorney to represent him in negotiating these terms with these companies who may come to him to want to use his name, image, or likeness. This is a bill that unfortunately is making student athlete recruiting and everything else very competitive with other states. And that is why our universities are jumping on this now, because we do not need an unfair advantage on these other schools and other states, jumping on them where they have passed this and allow this and to move forward with it. There are provisions in the bill that if I'm going to use my alma mater, for example, Mississippi State's in a contract with Adidas, okay? The student athlete cannot enter into a contract with a competing company like Nike or somebody else if the university already has a standing contract with a company like that or whatever. It applies equally to all Mississippi universities and student athletes. It's not just to football, but all student athletes. And it does allow students to use certified agents and receive legal representation once they do sign with an agent. Basically, it allows student athletes to earn compensation again for their name, likeness, or image. And it's a bill that I think I support, the university support it, all 8 of our public universities support it. It's one that we need to stay ahead of the curve on in competition with our out-of-state universities. And that's a broad overview of the bill, but that's what the bill does. And I'll entertain any questions.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. Go ahead, Representative Faulkner. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I heard you represent that all of our universities in support of this piece of legislation, and that's really good. I guess my question is, as it relates to a student athlete going into a contract with another, I guess, competing business, you said that can't happen, right?
Well, what can't happen is like, and I'm going to use again the analogy of like Mississippi State is in a contract with Adidas, you know, for like their uniforms or things or whatever. They're in a contract with Adidas. That student athlete would not be allowed to enter into a name, image, or likeness contract with a competing company such as Nike or Russell or something like that. You know, if the university already has a standing contract with a company, he would not be able to enter into an agreement outside of what the university already has in place. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. So now the athlete can enter into a contract with the same company. They will pay
Yes.
the athlete also, just as they in contract with the school.
Yes, it is my understanding that he could enter into a contract with the same company, but he cannot enter into a contract with a competing company if the university already has a standing enforced contract with a company already.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? Okay, I don't see any. So procedure I will follow is that if you are opposed, wave your hand or wave your chatty hand on your computer. Okay, I see none opposed. My recommendation is going to, or we will call this title sufficient do pass proposed committee sub for House Bill 1030. Okay, thank y'all.
Thank you, gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go to resolution, the House Bill 111, and ask the gentleman from Lee to present it from his seat there if he'd like.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 111, this is a bill that would allow our community colleges to to waive the out-of-state tuition for potential students that live in a county or parish that is outside of Mississippi, but it borders a county in that community college district. This allows the Board of Trustees of that community college to set up this out-of-state waiver if they feel it's appropriate. So that is what the purpose of this bill is.
Thanks, sir. Are there any questions? Any questions? Any questions? What's your motion, gentlemen?
Title sufficient do pass.
Title sufficient do pass. All those in favor say aye. There are none. Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Next on our list is House Bill 1160. Ask the gentleman from Jackson to come and present it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 1160 is a request that came from the community and junior college programs, the board and the 15 community colleges that we have. This bill is double referred, so if it leaves here, it will go then to the Appropriations Committee for further work. What House Bill 1160 does, it literally sets up a framework for compensating the community colleges for the dual credit community college scholarship program and the career and technical dual credit program. The bill is subject to an appropriation. It doesn't have any money in it. It does have some information. It has some suggestions as to what the various dual credit programs should be funded at a per semester hour basis. What we're trying to do now is just keep the bill alive, keep it going. There'll be a lot of discussion about this. There is no money in the bill, and it is subject to an appropriation. So, but what we want to do is allow it to go forward. continue to work on the bill. Like I say, what we're doing here is really just defining a framework for those two dual credit programs at the community college level. And it's somewhat of an issue in the last few years. This thing has grown exponentially, and so we're just trying to put it in a way that we can control it in the future and actually have a framework for this thing to work under. And that's an explanation of the bill. Take any questions. Mr. Chairman, my motion would be title sufficient, do pass.
Are there any noes? Are there any noes? Are there any noes? So the bill will be moved to the House Appropriations Committee. If there are no other questions.
Thank you.
Next is House Bill number 82, and I ask the gentleman from Jones to present it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 82 is a bill that we passed last year and it got blocked over in the Senate. And primarily what it does is it allows the Department of Revenue to give the community colleges up to $1 million for emergency repairs. For example, if an air conditioner broke at one of the colleges, instead of having to go through the process as they normally would, that's going to take 2 or 3 weeks, they are able to spend up to $1 million in emergency repairs without having to go through the normal procedures. That's basically a summary of the bill, Mr. Chairman. I'll be glad to answer any questions. And if not, then I would recommend title sufficient, do pass.
Are there any questions, first of all? Any questions?
Representative Wilkes has one, I believe. I can't hear you if you're talking.
I think she must be muted.
If I understood her hand motion, she said go ahead and she would ask it later on.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions? If not, what's your motion?
Title sufficient, do pass.
Immunity for cities, counties, municipalities, that includes the police officers, firefighters, all those guys.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? The next one's also for the gentleman from Jones. It's House Bill 113.
Thank you again very much, Mr. Chairman. On House Bill 113, this is a bill that was presented last year, and there was some controversy that we went back and discussed with the community colleges and their presidents and the IHR, the Community College Board. 2 community colleges want to change the format of their board of trustees. And what this bill does is it allows them to change the format of the trustees on Coahoma Community College and Northwest Community College. If you look over on the bill on line 57, it talks about that Coahoma Community College shall have up to 14 members. Of those members, Coahoma County will have 6, Tunica County will have 2, Quitman County 2, Bolivar County 2, Tallahatchie County 2, and that 1 member from each county that comprises the Coahoma Community College shall be the county superintendent of education. It doesn't have to be, but if the Board of Supervisors want to appoint that person, then they can do that without any problem. The second part of the bill over on line 83 discusses Northwest Community College, and it shall have 15 members, and those being 6 from Prentiss County, 2 from Alcorn, 2 from Tippah, 2 from Tishomingo, 2 from Union County, and then 1 member shall be appointed at large by the board. The board can actually vote to appoint 1 member at large to join them. But there's a little bit of a change here. The members of the Community College Board of Northwest, if they want to have a superintendent of education, they can be provided. However, the superintendent has to have a letter of recommendation to the Board of Supervisors from the president of Northwest Community College. Now, the Board of Supervisors does not have to appoint the superintendent, but if they want to appoint the superintendent, they can with that letter of recommendation from the president of Northwest. And this is just to try to keep down some of the confusion and some of the turmoil with the dual credit program, with having conflict of interest between community colleges and the money that is received from the high schools. And I am open to any questions if anybody has any.
Any questions? Any no votes? Any no vote?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir. So on that Northwest board makeup, I didn't hear any representation from Marshall County. Is that correct?
From Marshall County?
Yes.
No, sir. It's Prentiss, Alcorn, Tippah, Tishomingo, and Union.
Okay. And if this is what Northwest school wants, this is the
No.
makeup they want?
It's actually Northeast, not Northwest.
Okay,
I'm very sorry. I am sorry. You're correct, Representative McLean. It is Northeast. I'm sorry.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
I apologize.
Any other questions? Not
I make a motion, title sufficient, due pass.
title sufficient, due passed. Any noes? Any noes? Not, we'll consider this this bill accepted, and we'll send it to the House. Any other questions? Next, we'll have the gentleman from DeSoto County with House Bill number 609.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, 609, bill we passed last year out of accountability, also from here, and we passed it from the House. It died the coronavirus death in the Senate. 609 deals with Delta State University's aviation program and how they purchase aircraft. Under the current rules of aircraft of purchasing that state agencies and universities have to go through, it's a very long, tedious process that has eliminated the ability for them to purchase used aircraft. Used aircraft go on the market, they are sold quickly. By the time the department chair there, when he talked to me, by the time he's able to get approval to make the purchase, the aircraft is gone. So what he's left with, he has about $500,000 right now that he could buy aircraft. He needs to buy some multi-engine trainer aircraft. He could buy 2 new ones, or he could buy 5 used ones. So what we did was try to come up with a way that they can develop some procedures. Last year, we went through DFA, got their approval on this. We got IHL's approval and the university's approval for these to make this change. What would happen is once this is passed, the university has to get with IHL and develop procedures for purchasing the used aircraft. So there will be set procedures that the chairman will have to follow that are set in advance so that we know he's not, so there's no possible way that he could be buying aircraft from his brother-in-law or something like that to get around the system. So I believe it will help Delta State utilize their state money better. It'll help the program gain the aircraft that they need without having to come to us and ask for a significant amount more money in order to accomplish it. So again, it's the same as what we passed last year. If there are any questions, I'll take any questions on it. I don't see any. My motion then is title sufficient, do pass.
Are there any no votes? Any no votes? Next on the agenda is House Bill 1029. And this is a bill that just applies to one university in the state. And that's, others could tailor the same thing and come up with the same result. But this is entitled the Income Share Agreement. There was a scholarship supplier at Mississippi State and was there for several years, and then decided that they would back out and left a residue there of some $2 million at Mississippi State. What Mississippi State wants to do is to take that money and move into an agreement of this income share agreement here. And what this will do, this will give students scholarships from a different point of view. The student, once they show a need and qualify, will be given some money, and there will be an agreement written up of when the student would pay back. And this is paying forward. The student that had what was formerly called a scholarship will have the money, and then when time and with a time set up for payment, both length and the amount of money. When what the student pays will be based on what his or her salary is after they graduate from Mississippi State. It's very lenient, very student centered, and the students will pay what they agreed to pay back. If they were to lose their job, their obligations would be on furlough for a while. And we think it's a good program and a good way to put that old scholarship money to work. Are there any questions? And this will be something that will be ongoing. The money that's been given to the students through this agreement will stay there. When the student pays it all back and goes on, the money will go in a pot and they will fund and do the same thing for a like student. Are there any no's? Any questions, first of all? Any? Well, I guess it passes then. Title sufficient, do pass. So we'll put that in the stack that's moving forward. Next we'll go to House Bill number 1055. I'm sorry, that one's taken off the list. Thank you, sir. The next one is House Bill number 6.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 6 is going to be our anti-hazing bill. IHL has worked hard to put this together. What they want to do is have all the higher education facilities have the same anti-hazing policy. We're basically updating anti-hazing to include such things as alcohol and drugs in the hazing. So that's essentially what this does. It gives them the ability to unify and help combat the hazing. We have a House Bill 5 in Jud B, which covers the civil and criminal aspects of hazing, but this gives IHL the ability to set their standards. So, any questions? Okay, I've got a committee sub, which is what I'm speaking off of. So we're going to adopt a committee sub. It basically says the same thing. We're mirroring how the language in House Bill 5 and 6, so they coincide. So. If no questions, my amendment would be title sufficient, do pass, committee sub.
Are there any no votes? Any no? Not, we will consider this on the way to the Appropriations Committee. Thank you very much. I think we have one other one, House Bill 1069. Is that right?
Yes. Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, okay. There she is. Thank you.
Am I recognized?
Ma'am?
Are you recognizing me, Mr.
Yes,
Chairman?
ma'am. Go ahead with your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a committee sub that, help me out, please. I have a committee sub, Mr. Chairman, that the committee was emailed out today. So this bill addresses university-based programs, which there are only 4 university-based programs in the state. 2 are at the University of Southern Mississippi, 1 is at Mississippi State University, and the other one is at UMC. University-based programs function as local school districts. They are local schools. They help local school districts. They have very specialized educational offerings for children with disabilities. Recently, it came to light that MDE was going to have to shift the way certain funds were coming from the feds to these schools. And in order to get in line with this, we're having to make just a few changes so that these schools can continue to function and receive the funding really just to stay, just to keep their doors open. So this bill seeks to correct that just for these 4 university-based programs is all they affect. The bill does really just 3 things. 1, it changes the language so that students that with high incidence disabilities can be served, so they can serve more students. High incidence disabilities are communication disorders, autism, physical and sensory disorders, things such as that. So we're shifting so that they can treat more students so they can serve, help local school districts and serve more students. We are in the bill requiring that when a local school district releases a child from that district, that they enter into an MOU with the university-based program so that those funds that the school district receive for that child that has been released to the university-based program will follow that child. And then it also will reinstate funding for the Dubard School at Southern Miss through a state assessment that was previously there. We're reassessing that and adding the Children's Center to also receive this funding. That's my explanation of the bill, Mr. Chairman. If there are no questions, my motion would be title sufficient, do pass, committee sub.
Are there any questions? Any questions? If not, are there any negative votes? I see none. So with that, I will move these on to the Appropriations Committee or wherever. We had an unusually large number of double referred bills this year. And for those of you not right on top of the legislative process, it's hard to understand how difficult it is to deal with 2 of those bills like that at one time, double referred. But I want to thank Gloria for the work that she did in keeping everything straight and making us about 3 or 4 different copies. Is there any other bill that we haven't taken up yet? If there are none, I move we adjourn.